Welcome to Seeking Alpha, the podcast where we're diving deep into crypto, careers, and the chaos of modern dating. I'm Larissa Bunciak.
And I'm Lindsay Poss. Together, we're two women who somehow found themselves at the intersection of crypto Twitter, Silicon Valley, and Tinder. We did it, Consensus Toronto.
We are at Consensus Toronto.
This is my first Consensus. Have you been previously?
Yes, I've been a couple times. This is by far best one, vibes-wise. Last year was in Austin, too hot. Don't love Austin in general. I feel like a good conference depends heavily on a good location. And
Yes.
when it's in Denver, for example, and everybody is failing health-wise, it's very hard to be up and around constantly. But here, Toronto, spring, amazing, immaculate, perfect weather, gorgeous day today. I'm feeling great. Are you feeling great?
I'm feeling good, not great. I did accidentally get within like 3 feet of Eric Trump yesterday. And that's one of those like, this is a weird industry we work in moments where I'm like, okay, that was the time. But in general, I actually did really enjoy the kind of setup of this conference, the professionalism of it. The crowd that was here was a bit more mature, so that was fun. I think, unfortunately, nothing is ever gonna top DevCon last year. I'm still searching for that. It was in Thailand and it was so much fun, and it was the perfect balance between like professional and summer camp. So I'm still kind of looking for that, but this is a good experience.
This was very much a level up from Denver, at least.
Yes.
From the LinkedIn vibes, not in a bad way, but more in a professional way where people are showing up in suits, dressier clothing, taking meetings more professionally versus in the middle of the fucking floor in a unicorn costume.
Yeah, this actually felt like some of the gaming conferences that I used to go to that were a mix between kind of business and fun, and like you said, all different aspects of the vertical rather than just being highly focused on one portion, like just protocols shilling or whatever. This did feel more aligned across both inside and outside the industry, which I did appreciate. I will also say, just in terms of my job outside of the podcast, we had just a record number of things going on this week. And so I think part of my inability to enjoy it as much as I may have, because I did go in with the attitude like this isn't going to be for me. And it actually, I think it kind of was probably for me. I think my inability to enjoy it just came from 16-hour days, 40 people's schedules, multiple sponsorships, side events, a residency. Like there was just a lot going on for your girl in Toronto. Toronto. I've been getting all that for pronouncing the T.
Toronto.
It's still very strange to me that in such an online world we rely on these in-person things so much, but it's really where the magic happens.
It really is where the magic happens. This event was especially TradFi heavy with a lot of big banks showing up. JP Morgan had a major announcement with Ondo, and they are now really going all in on tokenization and on-chain transactions. Yeah, JP Morgan has their own blockchain, which is a private permissioned blockchain, which means that it's not transparent. It's not something that anybody can build on, but it specifically uses their payment rails. And they're partnering now with public blockchains, which is huge.
Yeah.
And it means that transactions can be settled using JP Morgan's technology, their payments, but also it's public. The transactions are on public blockchains. So they're really doubling down on transparency and working with the industry, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because
well, their permissioned blockchain has been around for a while.
Yeah.
So this is...
Take that, Jamie Dimon.
We talk a lot about TradFi and crypto and the interaction between those two and all of that. But when we're seeing TradFi actually move in, I always struggle a little bit with if I'm excited about that or not. Because as we've talked about on the show, the way that TradFi makes money is they take your money and they invest it and they make money on that money. Now, the promise of DeFi is that you take your money, you invest it, and you make money on your money. So it kind of removes that middle operator. But for more tactical operations, like settlements, like large payments, all of that, it makes more sense to have TradFi on board. And for things like tokenization, so buying into different funds and all of that, it does make sense to have the liquidity and the stability and the certainty of a large institution. There's still sort of this push-pull of how much do I want them in crypto?
No, I totally get it and agree. I mean, philosophically, I'm drawn to crypto because it's all about ownership and independence and being like, fuck the man. And then it's like, thank God the man's here.
I know.
The man is facilitating all this legitimacy and credibility and helping regulators get in, and drawing regulators to
that is the big
help
key
the industry. But the reality is that we sort of need the man to help legitimize certain things that, we want to do with our money.
Yeah, and hopefully in places where something like JP Morgan isn't a possibility, now with blockchain interacting with JP Morgan's tools and services is a possibility. And so maybe that unlocks a lot of different financial opportunities. But that's all very optimistic. I would say that internally I retain significantly more caution about the introduction of TradFi into the space in a big way. And I certainly hope we don't just wind up replicating the same issues in a different industry.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's enough advocacy from the crypto industry and leaders in the industry that are pushing for transparency still being a huge component of these partnerships. Because it's like every day another bank is partnering with a crypto protocol, and there's enough of the evangelism on the crypto side for the transparency and the decentralization and the democratization of things, like the accredited investor concept. Like, fuck it. It's no longer going to be a part of the traditional investing landscape once these traditional finance institutions are working more heavily with crypto companies.
Which, as I understand, an accredited investor basically means you go to a government authority and say, I do actually have this amount of money, and you show that you have that amount of money and get like some sort of stamp of approval. Is that the accredited investor?
It's just part of KYC. They check your balances and your net worth and things like that. And you need to have at least, it's like you need to be making 200,000 year after year consecutively, and or have over $1 million in net worth. That,
which is obviously incredibly unattainable for 99.99% of people on this planet.
And the way that so many people make such hefty sums isn't from salary jobs, it's through investing.
Right.
So that bar,
it
is completely a barred system and fucking un-American.
Yes. So if I make 50K and I have 10K to invest, can't do that in the tools that
exist.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder why. I mean, we talked about this last episode. I've been backwards learning traditional finance through crypto. Yeah. So both of us have. So did not come from a financial background. And so like the more I learn, the more I'm like, wow, no wonder why Bitcoin is the highest asset earning class of all time. Why not having a minimum buy-in is such a thing that matters. Why expanding the volume of investors can be a thing that really drives a product forward. Like, that makes so much sense.
Speaking of Bitcoin, back over 100K, bitches.
Yeah. Also, I hope it dips again so I can buy more. Yeah. I never really celebrate the highs. So I'm always like, I wish it was down.
It'll go back down.
Buy.
It'll go back down.
Exactly.
The summer slump coming.
But yes, wrapping up our consensus chat. One really fun thing that we did while we were here was go on the Rise Up morning show with Alex and Evan. So Rise Up is a show that happens every morning at 7 a.m. Central with Alex, Evan, and Will, who are three people who have been onboarding normies, which is also a term that I hate. But they've been onboarding regular people via TikTok for since 2017. So
That's
8
awesome.
years now. Yeah. Have a huge show on TikTok, make really good educational content. And they are just actually a breath of fresh air in this space in general. Really kind, open-hearted people who are just in it to have everyone learn about the things that we're now learning about, like investment opportunities and growing your wealth and having more stability.
Onboarding your mom since 2017.
Yeah, that's their tagline, which is great. But while we were on there, it spawned this discussion about AI, because those two had a completely different philosophy on AI than you and I.
Yeah, so we learned that men use AI as friends.
Yes.
We use it as work tools because we have friends.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, of course, women are more open with each other than the typical male relationship, which was super interesting to learn about. Alex and Evan really use the AI tools as sort of like companions or counterparts or extensions of their personality, where they're telling it a lot about themselves and then asking for feedback and journaling prompts and things like that. Yes. Whereas I have never done that and am dying to try. Probably will do so on my plate. But we use it as an extension of our research and writing and work.
Yes. I'm glad that you identified that he said extension of his own brain, because both of them were very clear that they don't use it as a personification. They're not going back and forth with it like a therapist, but they're really having it dive into their own thought patterns. So Alex was saying he uses it a lot as like a business and personal development coach. Evan was saying he uses it a lot for kind of basically everything. Like he talks to it all day. And so he's kind of always running through his thoughts and in trying to pick up on patterns and notes and things that he can expand upon. And they both noted that Chat GPT in particular knows more about them than any other person or thing on the planet, because they're constantly inputting their own personal information into it. And that was funny to me because I've only ever thought of it. I've never thought of it as an extension of my own brain. I've thought of it as my personal intern.
Yes.
I have 100% thought of it as a co-pilot, or like a Robin to my Batman, basically a tool that I use to quickly synthesize and package information that I need for an output. I'm never thinking about it like, how can I use this to make myself better?
Yeah.
It's always like, how can I use this to make my life more efficient, to run more efficiently, to do all of that. So that was like a wild distinction.
Great. I'm definitely going to start using it or trying to use it as more of an extension of myself, because I have seen like tremendous improvement in my work from using it. And now knowing that I can do that for myself, like that is crazy. And
we got to try it.
Updates to come.
I'm in marketing and Larissa's in PR, as everyone knows, but we use it a lot in our day-to-day lives for sure. In my personal capacity, I do use it very, very, very often for fitness routines and for food. So if I have a bunch of ingredients I don't know what to do with, I'll put it in and ask it for a recipe. And with fitness, it's really nice because no matter where you are in the world or what you have access to, you can say, I have this amount of time, I have this equipment, and it'll give you something. And the other personal thing that I did use it for is I use it in travel.
That's smart.
I was on a road trip in New Zealand, and obviously you can Google stuff and you can make plans, but I was actually just going to Chat GPT and say, I'm driving from this point to this point. Give me 3 options for moderate hikes, 3 to 5 miles at parks in between. And it was so much easier. But again, that's very like personal assistant-y type of stuff. In my work, I almost am never using it to generate information, but I will put in a bunch of information. Like I will basically find sources that I trust, put it into GPT, ask it to synthesize that information. I'm still like wary of where large language models pull from and hallucinating and stuff. Ask it to synthesize that information and then ask it to help me create outputs. So sometimes it's an outline, sometimes it's a campaign, sometimes it's straight content. I tend to use it more for broad strategy. And then when I get to the, can you generate tweets for this or whatever part, I find myself editing them like probably 70 to 80%. So it's really just the initial basis. But I'm basically always using it for strategy. And then I'm also constantly using it to communicate what I'm doing out. So give me one paragraph on this thing that I can send to a coworker or colleague to like easily and quickly get them up to speed.
I will a lot of the time because I am constantly in touch with reporters, chasing new reporters, and need to pitch them story ideas. I'll get a lot of background information on them from GPT. Obviously, then I still need to input my own like personalification of the emails and stuff that I send. When I write, I will ask it to edit for clarity and make sure that the message that I'm sending reflects what I want it to say, because oftentimes, like, you know, you come off in a certain tone and don't mean to, etc. And it can be received in a way other than what you meant. So it's helpful for that.
Yes. The other thing I did when I worked more in comms and media, and that I would suggest for anyone who is going to do an interview of any kind, so whether it's a job interview or a media interview or something else, whenever you're preparing to have a structured conversation with another person, role play with the AI. So with media, it was a little bit simpler because I would basically input the bunch of articles the reporter had written, the topic that we were going to discuss with the reporter, and ask it to generate questions based on that reporter's style of what it thinks that that person might ask. In a job interview, I would highly recommend inputting a bunch of stuff about the company, a bunch of stuff about the role, and saying, what interview questions do you think this company will ask? And then going back and forth to kind of craft quick talking points or things that you can reference, put in your own resume too, and then have it craft all of that for you so that you can kind of get a leg up on what you're going to be talking about and prepare. So I did use it in a lot of that kind of thing too. But that's still more strategic. Like, I have never thought about it as that's executive coaching, you know, that I'm using it as an executive coach, which is great. But I really have never thought about it as a extension of my inner self.
I know. I'm really excited to explore this route of inner self exploration.
Well, I do AI journaling. I've done it 2 or 3 times, and it's cool because you can type in a bunch of thoughts and then hit go deeper. And it will say, it sounds like you are saying this, or it sounds like the root is this. One time it said, what you're saying about your lifestyle and what you're saying about what you want to do is at odds with each other. Why do you think that is? And so it'll help you kind of go deeper into your thoughts. And I found that to be really cool, but that is also that was a directed tool.
Yeah, as I said on the Rise Up morning show, because of the way I've used ChatGPT, it's been more for research and things I've been curious about. It would be like, bitch, you are dumb. You don't know shit.
Wait, actually this morning a friend sent a screenshot of him putting in, "Do you think I'm autistic?" to ChatGPT. And I said, oh, that's so funny. I was doing a little bit of quick research on the difference in autism diagnoses between men and women with ChatGPT. And so I was saying like, oh, I was just doing research in autism in women. And he said, do you even need to ask it? And I was like, damn, your own people. But yeah.
You're way too socially charismatic and charismatic in general.
That's a marker for women though. The masking is a marker for women. So the differences in autism between men and women have a lot to do with women being able to significantly mask more and play social roles way more. And then their stressor or how they handle that is a lot of internal anxiety. So outwardly it presents in a different way.
So Lindsay's autistic. New.
I have taken a bunch of tests that do indicate that I am definitely neurodivergent, which makes sense because, again, I have this reputation as someone who's big and outgoing and have this personality, which I do, but my comfort place is at home with a book, and it always has been, and I can play the role. As I said with Youth Denver, when it comes to work stuff, it's game time, and I have a set of rules for myself, and I follow them.
Right.
And that's how I make connections.
Like the good little autist you are.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, shall we wrap with some listener questions?
Yes, it's time.
Thank you guys so much for submitting these. We love them. Keep them coming, please.
Yeah, you can do that at seekingalphapod.com or you can DM us.
Okay, first one, Lindsay, I believe this is for you, but love your tattoos. Can you explain what they mean?
Oh, there's a lot of them. So I have a full sleeve and then I have I think it's 19 others scattered around my body. So there's lots of stories for all of them. I will say most of them are just ways of encapsulating either things or people that I love. That's the shortest answer. The ones on my back, I have quite a few starting at my neck and moving down my spine. That's kind of the timeline of my life, actually. So those fall in order of things that have happened, which is why only half of it is currently taken up.
That's amazing. She's going to end with a lower back tattoo of my face.
That's right. Yeah.
Speaking of, you also have a sub question for that one. If you had to get a forehead tattoo, what would it be?
Larissa's face.
Thank you. So I have a couple tattoos too. Surprise, maybe, because they're less prominent than Lindsay's. But I have one on my upper spine because I'm Ukrainian. It's a Ukrainian trident. I also wear a Ukrainian trident necklace, have stickers everywhere, and a bunch of clothing with the trident. And yes, I have been asked if I'm in a cult regularly, or if I'm a witch, but maybe both. And Ukrainian. So, a couple others that we'll explain another time. How do you both stay so optimistic? I'm at a weird point and struggling to be positive.
Oh, I actually just talked about this because I would say I'm more in a medium place. I'm not optimistic or pessimistic. I think that a lot of us are facing a holding pattern with where we're at in life, where we're at in love, where we're at in our careers. We're very much in that middle management, trying to figure out next steps, trying to think about future and family and all of that. And so I wouldn't say that I maintain optimism, but I will say that I am unintentionally practice a lot of gratitude. I do constantly remind myself that I am extremely blessed to be where I'm at and who I am. That doesn't mean that I don't get sad. At the end of the day, though, I try to think like, okay, is this a moment where I'm sad or is this a moment where I need to problem solve? And identifying the difference between those is how I decide to move forward. If it's a moment that I'm sad, I know that it's fleeting and that I'll be okay. If it's a moment that I need to problem solve, I need to spend some more time thinking about how I'm going to actually fix that pain point and then move forward. And I think that's how I'm able to at least maintain like a baseline of just being good.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about maintaining the not necessarily like optimistic stance always, but maintaining sort of like more neutralism. And I think that's something that more people should aim for because realistically, you're not going to be optimistic all the time. Like sometimes shit just sucks. Yes. And it's important to identify that like shit is sucking, but what are you going to do about it? And
or do I just need to let it sit with that for a second? Yeah. Is it just going to suck right now and I'll be okay in a week?
And that's how you need to think about things if you're in this weird place, like have the agency to do something about it. And that's where the optimism comes from because you always have a choice. And it may be a choice between like bad or worse, but you have that choice, and that's where you can extract some optimism in that. Like, what are you going to, like, you can do the best thing for you right now.
Well, I also get optimistic about the fact that sucky times don't last. I'm like, this is just how it is today, and tomorrow's a new day. So that helps me kind of maintain that neutral. I will say the thing that actually changed my life when thinking about this is my acupuncturist said she never wishes people happiness. She wishes them peace, because happiness is fleeting, but peace can be maintained no matter what your mood is. And so I do feel like maybe optimism is overrated, but like peace and neutrality and having that baseline is where it's at. And that allows you to kind of grow or move on past the things that can be difficult.
Yeah. So don't aim for optimism, aim for pragmatism and peace.
Aim for calm. Yeah. Peace.
Larissa's favorite stimulant combination, Monster, Zyn, caffeine tablet.
All at the same time?
Space them out by a little.
By how much?
Depending on where your tolerance is right now for caffeine, take the caffeine tablet, then maybe wait an hour before starting the Monster, but Zyn throughout.
Before starting the Monster? This is like clinical advice from
Yeah. Also run it by GBT to make sure that it's on point with your health and etc. If you have cardiovascular issues, don't come crying to me.
That would literally kill me as someone who doesn't even drink coffee on a daily basis. Like, this is tea.
Test it out next episode.
Oh God. No.
Submit questions.
Oh yeah. And follow us.
Duh.
Yeah.
Bye.
And leave a 5-star rating.
Oh yeah, and take all your friends' phones and leave 5-star ratings and download all episodes.
And make sure when you meet Larissa in person, you note what a huge fan you are so that she can be eternally confused at why people know her.
Yes, I love when that happens.